This is the first of 3 videos. We're finishing 1 lab this week and starting 2 of them. We're going to start doubling up on labs because of the 2 holidays that we're going to miss class. So first let's talk about the rapid ID methods. So if you recall, you inoculated 4 tubes. You did 2 MRVP, 1 indole, or it said tryptophan, and, or I think it said tryptone on it. And then you inoculated the citrate, okay? And then you inoculated the intro tubes. So the way that I would like for you to do this is keep the results that you get from the tubes kind of separate from what you get from the intro tube. So what I recommend you do is you do the reagents for the regular tubes first and then go to the intro tube, because you'll notice in the results on page 113 it has the IMVIC data first. So do those first independent of this. You don't want to you want to look at the results for this, and you want to look at the results for this, and then compare them in the end. Don't try to compare them together because you're going to get it all confused, okay? So for the IMVIC, first you did the indole. So the indole was that kind of a clear liquid. So this one you can see that it's growing here. And what you're going to do is you're going to add the Kovacs reagent. And the Kovacs reagent, the little bottle actually says indole on it because that's the name of the test. Now we're going to use this little bottle for both the tube itself, but also for what you have to do on the intro tube. What I'd like for you to do before you come to class is go either get with your partner, or if you have an atlas, look it up and see if it says how many drops of Kovacs reagent to add, because your lab manual doesn't actually say it. But try to figure out how many drops you're going to add. It says how many drops to add to the intro tube later, but it doesn't say how many drops to add to this. So see if you can figure that out before you come to class, okay? And this is one of those glass ampules like we did for the flagella stain. So what you do is you break it, and then you turn it upside down and squeeze it. You don't take the top off, because remember, inside is the glass ampule, and if you take the top off after you break it, then you'd end up with glass in there. Okay, so what you'll do is you'll add the amount of drops that you need to add to the tube that had said tryptone on it. Okay, so that's for the indole test. Now I wanted you to look this up before. So you're looking for the result that you're going to get is red. Okay, and this red will turn red like within 10 seconds. So it's not after it's sat for a while. Okay, the next one is the methyl red and the VP test. So recall way back when we did fermentation of carbs, so you would have the 2 MRVP tubes. They were the brown colored media, and remember, 1 tube is for methyl red, the other tube is for the VP, okay? And for the methyl red, remember you added this methyl red here, and if you go back to the fermentation of carbs, it'll tell you how many drops to add, okay? And once again, you're looking for a red result if it stays red. Once again, I keep saying once again, with all of these, you also do it on a empty tube, an uninoculated tube, so that you can compare the results. If you recall with these, back when we did fermentation of carbs, especially with the VP test, it's hard to tell the actual result because it's just kind of a pinkish hue rather than being completely red. So there'll be uninoculated tubes for you to do a control, okay? So you do the MR on 1 tube, and then the VP test. Once again, go back to the fermentation of carbs and look at how many drops of the VP reagents to add. Because what it has in your text, in your book for this lab, is for what you're putting in the small tube, I believe, in the intro tube. Let's see. Yeah. So you're going to use the bottles from last time from the fermentation of carbs, and you're going to do that with the tubes themselves. We have little ampules for these here, but for the tubes you use the big bottles like you did before, and once again go back to fermentation of carbs and see how many drops of each you need to add. Also remember that this test takes 20 minutes, and so you use the parafilm and you kind of shake it up a little bit. I don't know if you invert it, but shake it up a little bit, and then you take the parafilm off and you let it get oxygenated for 20 minutes, and then you look for the result. Remember, it's very light pink okay? So that's why you need to do a control so you can tell whether or not it is positive, okay? The last one was the citrate, and so recall with the citrate that if it turns blue, that's a positive test, so that one's pretty easy, okay? So for those, you will record the results where it says IMVIC on page 113, okay? That is separate from these. You don't record any of these results on those 4 lines. That is only for these, okay? Now also, if you go back to page 107, on table 1, there's a list of the possible bacteria that you have for this lab. So based on the results that you get from those tests we just did, you will see if you can figure out which bacteria you have based on those 4 tests. Now you'll notice that some of them say variable, can be positive, can be negative. Sometimes it depends on how long it has sat, okay? So kind of make a note of what bacteria you think it is based on those 4 results, and then do the intero tube, okay? Now for the intero tube, let's see, where did I put the uninoculated one? Okay, this is the uninoculated one, and so the last compartment is the citrate because it's green, okay? So the first one was the red one. So if I look and I make some comparisons, like this one here, you can see that this one started out red and now it's yellow. This one started out green and it's still green. Some of these went from red to pink, as opposed to some of these other ones that went from, like this one went from the reddish color to yellow. And like in this compartment here, and also like this one here, you can see the black, and that's the hydrogen sulfide. So we'll compare it to an uninoculated tube. I can see a lot of different results occurring. Like this one has the blue for the citrate, has the black for the hydrogen sulfide. So what you want to do is look at page 109 is the table for this. So glucose is the first compartment. So that's what this one here. And you're looking for acid, which means it turns yellow, right? Because it started out as red. All right. And then if it produces gas, that wax right here separates from the actual yellow. And on this one, you can't see it in the video, I'm sure, but I can see the separation. So the actual gas, remember in the tubes we had that Durham tube where you looked for a gas bubble? This here you're actually looking for a separation in the wax, okay? Some of the other things I want to point out is the compartment that says indole are H2S and IND. So that's the fourth one, this fourth compartment here. It's looking for 2 different results. So first you look for the H2S, and that's if you get a black precipitate. So some of these have that black precipitate in it, okay? And then the other one is the indole part of it. And if you look on page 111, it says indole test. You actually have to poke a hole in it with your loop. So for that, after you've read the hydrogen sulfide result and whether or not you see the black, okay, then you're going to turn it upside down, you're going to flame your loop, and you're going to literally burn a hole through the plastic, okay? After you burn the hole through the plastic, then you're going to add that same indole reagent to that compartment, okay? You can see some of the results are overlapping, but this gives many different results, okay? So, and also, if you look at the one, the DUL and the PA one, so further down, right, the last, third to last compartment, once again, it's looking for 2 different results, okay? So don't get confused if you don't see exactly what you think you should see. So like this one right here, it turned black, okay? So the PA, the results in a black precipitate, okay? So that's the PA portion of it. The dulcitol is a different one. So if your compartment goes from green to yellow, that's one kind of result. If it turns black, that's a different kind of result. Of course, you're not going to be able to tell if it's yellow if it has the black, okay? So like this one's still green. That one's starting to turn yellow right there. So it doesn't look like many of them are changing for that one. The other, let's see, the other one is the VP. So once again, if you have to add the VP reagent, you're going to burn a hole in it and add the reagent, okay? Which is these little guys here. So there's VP, A, and B, all right? So for the instructions on adding the reagents to this, those are on 111, and it says add 2 drops of the KOH and the 5% alpha naphthol. So that's these guys here, okay? The VP, A, and B. All right, now what you'll do is when you get your results, so once again, you'll compare it to the original, so you can definitely see some major changes going on there, okay? And all of them have some interesting results. We've got some pretty colors going on. So like the urea, remember it turned pink, okay? So after you compare your results, what you'll do is on page 113 at the bottom, they have a picture of an intro tube. And so let's say for this one here, I see that it's turned yellow from red, so that's acid, okay? So you see the numbers, it says 2 + 1, 4 + 2 + 1. So I have acid, okay? I also have gas because it's separated. So I circle both 2 and 1, and 2 + 1 is 3. So your first number is a 3, okay? You will notice that all of them at the very least ferment glucose, okay? So the first number will always be a 2 or a 3. It'll be a 3 if you had gas, a 2 if you only had acid. Then the next one, the lysine, and the next 3 compartments, once again looking at what you're going to turn to, the next 2 would turn purple if they were a positive result. So like this one has, the first one's negative, the second one's purple, and then the next one has the black precipitate. Okay, so this one was negative for the 4, so you don't circle the 4, positive for the 2, the purple one, and then it was positive for the 1. So it's don't circle the 4, circle the 2, circle the 1, 2 + 1 is 3. Okay, so you put that number in, and you just keep going along. So you circle the ones that come up positive, and then in those ones that are bracketed together, you add those together. When you're done, you'll have this 5-digit number. So then when you get your 5-digit number, you come up to me and I open up this key of all these numbers, and then I'll find your number and I'll tell you which bacteria it compares to, and then you write that down or whatever, and then you compare it to what you got for the IMVC, and hopefully they match, okay? And so for that one, that's all you do. Remember, we did not do the other test, the API 20E, and so that's the last of the rapid ID method.